Hey guys, in this video I'll be critiquing my own solves. In particular, we're going to be looking at the 7.04 3x3 average I got last year. Basically what I'm going to do is play the video of the solve and then reconstruct it while giving critiques on how the solve could be improved. I chose to do this format of a video instead of normal walkthrough solves because in walkthrough solves, usually you get an unrealistic point of view of a solve. You get all of the time in the world to look at the pieces, but this video would give a more realistic idea of what happens in a solve. Anyways, let's go straight to the first solve. The scrambles are here if you want to follow along. So in this first solve I got a 7.14, and overall the solve is pretty smooth, but there are some questionable choices in F2L. Okay, first let's start with cross. I did a pretty obvious solution. I did D2, R, F, R2, U, L2. And while that solution is pretty short, only 6 moves, it's not really finger trick friendly. Like, watch me do it. It doesn't flow very well. There are 2 small regrips there. Now I found a better 6-move solution, but it's actually not really easy to see for some reason. So instead, I could have done D prime, R prime, D prime to solve these two, then rotate here, and there are only these two left, L, B, L prime. Yeah, it might be a bit hard to see, but it's a lot faster. But in the solve I did decide to do this solution, so let's carry on. I also tracked the first pair, which is good, and it's also solved to the back left, so no complaints there. And for the second and third pairs, I got a pretty lucky case. It's basically inserting this pair also makes this pair a free pair, and it's really fast. Now doing it from the left side would have been a bit better because I could have looked ahead into the next pair, but I think in the solve it's fine because it's just really fast. And then for the last pair, I made a huge execution error. I rotated here, saw the pair, I did 2 more rotations and then solved it at the back. That is definitely not ideal. I should have just rotated here and then solved it lefty because the lefty solution is very fast as well. For OLL, no complaints. And then for PLL, I had a J perm, which is nice. For this AUF case, I should have probably done the normal AUG that most people know. Okay, let's move on to the second solve.
8 seconds.
Okay, in this solve I got a 7.49. The solve is not as smooth as the first one, but overall still pretty good. For cross, there's a very obvious solution, which I did in the actual average. I did U prime, R prime, F, B prime, L, D2. There's nothing wrong with that solution, it's fast and finger trickable, but what I didn't see during inspection is a pretty nice X cross solution. I could have done R prime to insert this, and then before inserting this edge, U prime, B prime to solve this edge, and then D2, rotate here, and solve the 2 remaining edges, which would also complete X cross. L, B, L prime. Quickly, it would look like this. But it's also hard to see, so it's understandable that I did the normal solution. And for the choice of first pair, I did this one, which was definitely not the best option. I should have done this pair because it's just 1 rotation and then solving it to the back with no regrips. Instead I did RU prime R prime and then insert it here. And here there's another mistake because I should have seen this pair and inserted this F12 pair with a U2, and that would basically solve these 2 pairs simultaneously. But instead I just inserted it like this. For the second pair, I think I chose a good option. I did U and then lefty sledge, insert to the back. So the solution is rotationless and fast, but unfortunately that leaves me with two diagonal unsolved F12 pairs. I chose to do this one by doing U, L prime, U, L, and then U2, rotate, L, U, L prime. There's nothing wrong with that solution. Maybe doing this would have been faster. Or I could have done this pair first. But I don't think it makes much of a difference. And for the last pair, we have this easy case, which also gives EO. So no complaints there. On the last layer, I hesitated a bit. I did U prime, U, U, and then COLL, and a U perm. Yeah, in the solve I did that weird AUF, which is not necessarily slow, but it's a bit risky. Maybe doing just a normal U2 prime AUF would have been better. Okay, let's go to the third solve. Whoa! Here we have the third scramble. I got a 5.50, which is obviously an insane result. But even in a really fast time, there are a lot of things that could have been improved. For example, for the X cross that I chose, I did L, F prime to make this pair, U, then R prime D, and just insert the last pair. That solution is not bad at all, but there was a slightly better solution that I could have done, and that is to solve the white, green, orange pair instead. So to do that, I could do U2, which doesn't affect any of the cross pieces, L to insert this while making that pair, and then F prime, R prime D, then insert this to the back. Unlike the previous solution that I showed you, this solution has less regrips and therefore it just flows better. For the second pair, I didn't find any F12 pairs immediately, so I did 2 rotations and saw this pair. Maybe I could have considered solving this pair first by doing F prime, R prime, U prime, R, F, but I think what happened is not that bad, but the 2 rotations did cost me a bit of time. For the third and fourth pairs, I did a pretty nice multi-slot. I did L prime, U prime, L to set these 2 up, and then instead of inserting it right away, I did R prime, U, R2, U, R2, U, R. Another solution that I could have considered is by doing keyhole, D prime, and then insert this edge, which also makes this free pair, and then maybe sledge to orient some edges. That solution is rotationless and maybe slightly better. And for last layer, just OLL and skip, nothing to say there. Here we have the third solve, which is a 6.48. In my opinion, I think this is the best solve in the average. There are only a few mistakes. The first mistake I did was not doing yellow cross. I mean, look at this. Foremost cross. But at the time I wasn't really comfortable with yellow, so I guess it's fine. White is also a very nice solution. So first I insert this edge, and then D prime, R prime, F. I also track this free pair in inspection, so nothing wrong with that solution. And then I solve the pair. Now the second pair is slightly problematic. I did U, R, U2, R prime, and then U2 insert like that. It's not too bad, but with this pair maybe I could have done something like F, and then insert to the back, and then F prime, or maybe F, U prime, F prime, and then insert to the back. But this pair is not too bad either. The 2 rotations did cost me some time though. For the third pair, I did this blue-orange pair. I paired it up at the front and then insert with my left, and then that also gave me a free pair. Nothing wrong with that solution there. then R prime U to R. That's the best way to insert it. Don't do U R prime U R. That's just a waste of time. Just do R prime U to R and go on with your day. Then OLL and PLL, I did this one. Maybe doing U and then this alg would have been a bit better. But other than that, I think this solve flowed very well and not much wrong with it. Okay, here we have the last solve, which is a 9.03. I think I got nervous, but let's just look into it. The cross solution I did was actually maybe optimal, but I didn't track the first pair, which is definitely the biggest downfall to the solve and why it ended up being a 9. So let's just go through the cross solution. I inserted these two first, R prime F R2, and then D prime B prime R D. Yeah, the cross solution itself is not bad, but I should have tracked this pair. But anyway, I did not do that pair for the first pair. I did this white orange blue pair, which is also a good option. And then for the next pair, I did this. Nothing wrong with that. For the next pair, I did white, blue, red. I rotated here and did a U2. Break them up and then insert like that. That's not optimal. I should have rotated the same way and then just solved it with lefty. It would look like this. But instead I did a mix of R and L moves, which is not ideal. But for the last pair, no complaints. Just pair them up and then insert. For the last pair, I probably should have done this, but I didn't know that case at the time, so I just inserted it and then OLL, PLL, nothing too wrong with that. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned some tricks. Let me know what average you want me to critique in the next episode. Okay, bye.